Hello everyone, my name is Sai Reddy. I'm a Solutions Architect with Amazon Web Services. We also have Thiru Sadagopan, VP of Cloud Services for Apps Associates, and Troy Wingham, Director of IT Operations for Hansen Technologies, presenting with me today. I would like to give a quick high-level agenda of what we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes. Troy Wingham will start with a quick overview of Hansen Technologies and their use case. After that, I'll give an overview of AWS, followed by Thiru, who will talk about Apps Associates capabilities and the migration framework. And then Troy will finish by diving deep into Hansen's migrations use case. With that, I would like to introduce Troy Wingham from Hansen Technologies. Troy, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Sai. I appreciate the opportunity. Okay, so as Sai mentioned, I'm the Director of IT Operations for Hansen Technologies. Hansen Technologies recently completed a migration to AWS, but first of all, I'd like to just kind of give you an overview of who Hansen Technology is and what we do. So we're an organization or a technology company that focuses on providing technology billing solutions and customer information system solutions to the billing industry. That includes energy, utilities, gas, water, wastewater, pay TV, cable TV, etc. So anything billing, we are in that space. We do business in 14 different countries and our offices in 14 different countries and have businesses in our customers in 80 different countries. And so we are a global presence. We're based out of Australia. And like I said, we provide solutions to small and large organizations that are regulated and have increasing customer demands. So how did the portion of the business that I'm with Hansen, up until June of last year, was a subsidiary of Pennsylvania Power and Light, known as PPL Corporation. And in July of last year, Hansen Technologies purchased the organization. And so as such, we needed to adapt our technology environment to separate from the organization. With PPL, we had a shared on-premise data center that was supported by a corporate IT team. And as such, we needed to build the entire infrastructure to support this business. We had to migrate the business completely out of the PPL data center. We had to do so while keeping in mind that our business is very customer-facing. We have many clients and business partners that we interact with on a daily basis. We have a complex environment that needed to be moved in a manner that did not impede any operations. And as we mentioned, we had to build all the supporting infrastructure, to support the business, including our call center, as well as and integrations to all of our business partners. So what was our journey to AWS? So first of all, we selected the environment that we were going to move to. We evaluated many different cloud providers and determined that AWS was the right platform for us. And so once we decided AWS is the right platform for us, the right environment for us, we needed to choose a partner to help us go through the transition. We were not experts at cloud solutions, and we wanted to make sure we did it right. And so we started our journey by choosing a cloud partner that offered Oracle knowledge and expertise. We are an Oracle-based organization, and we wanted to make sure we had a partner that could help us be successful in our journey. And we evaluated many different partners, and we settled on Apps Associates. They had the experience and knowledge that we needed to go through the transition, and they came in and presented their approach to migration, which met our needs and really showed us that they knew what they were doing with businesses such as ours. So we had a 6-month migration cycle. It was a multi-pass migration. So we started with our phase 1, where we basically did a trial run. So that was called our unit testing, where we basically did some samples of the various systems we need to migrate to the environment and how we were going to migrate them to do a proof of concept to make sure that the approach would work. Once we were confident that approach was sound, we moved on to the next phase of the project, which was to repeat that activity with all of the systems in our environment. And then we did that a couple of more times to ensure that we could do it correctly. At the end, our migration was scheduled over a weekend, in fact, last weekend. And over the last couple of days, we've been doing extensive verifications, validations about the integrity of our application environment. We are very pleased with the migration to date, and it's been working well. And so the path forward for us is to transition to some managed services with Apps Associates and continue to find ways to leverage the power that AWS brings to the table for us. Sorry, I went a little too fast there. So now I'm going to hand it over to Sai, and Sai will talk about choosing the cloud platform.
Thank you, Troy. What I want to cover in the next 10 minutes is why are customers like Hansen choosing AWS? What are they achieving by choosing AWS? What are some of the challenges they are facing when it comes to migrating to AWS? And how are we helping customers overcome those challenges? So why are customers choosing AWS? Customers have selected AWS for years because we have proven ourselves committed to customer success. We believe we stand apart in the market because of several factors. Let me elaborate on each of this a little bit. The first key differentiator is our experience. We have spent over a decade building the world's most reliable, secure, scalable, and cost-effective infrastructure. There is no substitute for the experience of time, and no cloud provider has been in operation longer than AWS. Our second key differentiator is our service breadth and depth and our pace of innovation. We have been continuously expanding our services to support virtually any cloud workload, and we now have more than 90 services. We launched more than 1,000 new features and services in 2016. Our third key differentiators are our global footprint, our pricing philosophy, and our ecosystem. To support our global customer base, we operate around 16 regions and 42 availability zones across the globe. When it comes to our pricing philosophy, our massive scale provides huge economies of scale, which lowers our costs considerably. Since 2006, we have reduced our prices more than 50 times. Let me talk about our ecosystem. When it comes to cloud ecosystem, AWS has the largest ecosystem by far, and it continues to grow at a rapid pace. It's very likely that SI and ISV partners of choice for a lot of customers are already partners of AWS. Having this support in place makes it much easier to adapt and shift existing business processes to the cloud. So I just talked about why are customers choosing AWS, but what are they achieving by adopting AWS? Let me share a couple of customer examples. Of course, we're going to deep dive into Hansen a little bit, but I want to start with Netflix. Everybody knows Netflix. Netflix run everything out of AWS. They have around 90 million plus users in more than 190 countries. Using our global infrastructure, they're able to quickly scale and service their user base without having to purchase expensive hardware or having to manage data centers. Capital One, one of the nation's largest banks, is using AWS as a central part of their technology strategy. Capital One selected AWS for its security model as they believe that they can be more secure on AWS than in any private data center. GE Oil and Gas is migrating 500 applications to the cloud as part of a major digital transformation, helping it attain a 52% reduction in total cost of ownership. These cost savings are in addition to other benefits such as greater speed to market and more agility. Another example is Expedia. Expedia is a leading online travel company. Expedia's engineering team realized that they had to run one of their key applications in locations physically close to customers in order to reduce the latency. Expedia launched this application initially in the Asia-Pac region, and they quickly expanded it to the US and European Union. According to Expedia, latency was their biggest issue. Using AWS multi-region approach, they were able to decrease average network latency from 700 milliseconds to less than 50 milliseconds. So customers like Hansen, right, are adopting AWS, are able to scale quickly, be more secure, save costs, and improve performance. So we have seen all the benefits of adapting AWS. A lot of enterprise companies understand the benefits of cloud. They want to focus more on their business and innovate like a startup. However, they have some real questions that they want to help with when it comes to migrating to cloud. Questions such as, what do we do with our existing investments? How do we get on board some of our skeptical stakeholders? How do we minimize downtime during migrations? How do we manage application dependencies during migration? What about the skills and expertise needed to migrate applications to cloud? For the last couple of years, we've been working really hard to help our customers overcome these barriers. I would like to talk about 3 specific areas where we think we are helping our customers overcome some of the challenges associated with migrations. Let me start with our ecosystem. First, we have developed a large and growing ecosystem of vetted partners, such as Apps Associates, that have the experience and skills needed to execute migrations. They can help you determine your migration strategy, create a clear roadmap for migrations, bring the skills that you need to successfully complete the migration, train your resources, and do a handover to your team after the migration, or even manage your applications using their managed services on AWS if needed. The second item I would like to highlight is about our migration methodology. We have developed this migration process based on our experience with numerous successful AWS migrations. Our partners such as Apps Associates use the same process when they do migrations. Thiru is going to dive deep in this process in his section. This migration process should look very familiar to anyone who has migrated technology from one platform to another before. The third thing we did to help our customers overcome some of the challenges with migrations is by developing a robust set of services and tools around migrations. Some of these services are Application Discovery Service, a service that can help customers plan application migration projects by automatically identifying application dependencies and their performance profile. Another service is AWS Server Migration Service. AWS Server Migration Service is an agentless service that allows our customers to automate, schedule, and track server migrations, making it easier for you to coordinate large-scale migrations. AWS Database Migration Service, one of my favorite AWS services, helps our customers migrate databases to AWS easily and securely. The source database remains fully operational during the migration, minimizing downtime to applications. AWS DMS service supports both homogeneous migrations, such as Oracle to Oracle, as well as heterogeneous migrations, such as Oracle to Amazon Aurora. We also have developed a set of tools to help customers transfer large amounts of data to AWS. Snowball is a petabyte-scale data transport solution that uses secure appliances to transfer large amounts of data into and out of AWS. AWS Snowmobile is an exabyte-scale data transfer service used to move extremely large amounts of data. You can transfer up to 100 petabytes per Snowmobile. So just to quickly summarize, I talked about why are customers like Hansen choosing AWS, what are they achieving with AWS, what are some of the challenges customers might face with migrations, and how are we helping our customers overcome those challenges. With that, I would like to hand it over to Thiru Sadagopan from Apps Associates, one of our premier consulting partners who has specific experience and competency around AWS migrations and AWS and managed services. Thiru?
Thank you, Sai. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Thiru Sadagopan. And let me start with a quick introduction of Apps Associates, who we are. And from there, I will dive into some aspects of how organizations should consider an adoption approach for migration to cloud platforms. So Apps Associates is a global IT services company. We've been around for 15 years or so, headquartered in the Boston, Massachusetts area. Over the last 5 years, we have been helping organizations adopt the AWS platform in various ways. We are a premier consulting partner and have achieved certain competencies that AWS recognizes and helps customers choose partners for their capabilities that they have established through various forms. One of the successes of being a partner that has developed customer successes is to have strong employees, associates, architects, and Apps Associates has invested strongly in this area, and we're happy to say that we have over 50 certified AWS architects in our organization. Apps Associates' roots started as an IT services company working with primarily Oracle technologies from 15 years ago. We continue to maintain that core strengths and capabilities, and we have done very interesting work helping customers move Oracle technologies as well to the AWS platform. So with that introduction, let me dive into, pardon me for a second. With that introduction, let me dive into talking about successful, what does it take to be a successful migration to the AWS platform. Organizations have to look at and invest in specific adoption areas, specific areas of evaluation, discovery, developing a roadmap, and understanding your application portfolio, and walking through with specific ideas and considerations around a cloud adoption strategy and a program. I will talk a little bit more into how these were done specifically with Hansen Technologies as well. At Hansen Technologies, we spent a good amount of time in the beginning doing exactly this. We went through a discovery process, had several workshops, conversations organized with various folks in the IT organization, applications organizations, both for understanding the footprint as well as an educational opportunity for Hansen IT team to understand the AWS platform and jointly develop a migration approach. We were also able to do an analysis of their existing applications environment and being able to map to AWS technologies and strengths and developing a migration approach, and also being able to provide a cost analysis, being able to perform a full-blown TCO analysis so that Hansen could then accordingly plan and budget for this kind of a migration. These 4 steps that are identified here, Sai touched upon as well early on, are very crucial for successful cloud adoption and migration. Let me talk a little bit more about these specific steps in a bit of detail. For an assessment approach as a discovery process, there are a couple of ways that organizations typically undergo with this process. It can be done with tools and automation, wherein we are able to get a full inventory of your environment, be able to understand the performance characteristics of your various workloads, and then being able to understand dependencies behind those applications, and being able to then develop move groups, if you will, for developing that move sequence and a gradual adoption or a roadmap for your eventual cloud migration. Sometimes this is also done as an interview process with, say, Excel sheets and other kinds of data artifacts from your asset management systems to be able to undertake the same process. It's very important that sufficient time is spent in this discovery process so that you're now able to develop, as I talked about, a roadmap of how we would get there from your on-premise environment into your AWS platform. The applications migrations approach is a very important area. We are referencing a cloud adoption framework that Amazon Web Services has built as well. And essentially, this approach helps organizations to look at your cloud journey by grouping your applications across these various categories, if you will. How many of them are good categories for lift and shift? How many of them are you going to be able to perhaps leverage automated techniques or tools that are going to be able to move your VMs across the board? These are some of the easier ones. How many of your application workloads perhaps are candidates for a sudden replatforming approach? Perhaps they're running a non-Linux or proprietary Unix operating systems. Perhaps this is a modernization opportunity for you to change some aspects of your application and bring it. Certain other categories is perhaps a repurchase, wherein perhaps you would not move those applications to a cloud platform like AWS. You might look to go a SaaS route. Emails, going to Office 365 is an often solution or a choice that I've seen organizations make. going to other SaaS solutions for specific business applications is also something that organizations have undertaken. Another approach is to refactor or completely redevelop your application for the cloud. Perhaps there is a group of applications that fit this category, some legacy applications perhaps that could be rewritten for the specific mode. And last but not the least, perhaps there are those applications that are eventually going to be retired, and perhaps you might retain in your existing data centers and run in a hybrid architecture. This kind of an evaluation and understanding of application workloads during a discovery process is going to be very helpful in terms of laying out an understanding and strategy. Now, as part of a deploy phase, it's very important also to look at developing a training program, looking at your internal IT strengths, identifying gaps, and working through a proper program wherein we are able to get your IT teams to understand how to migrate and operate workloads on the AWS platform. So we did that with Hansen Technologies. They have an IT team that will continue to manage, monitor, and take their application environment forward on the AWS platform. So we built a good amount of time with them in training them, developing specific test books, run books for helping them achieve this. This also encompasses various operational aspects of monitoring, backups, disaster recovery, and working through and testing these various solutions, and eventually developing a transition plan. I'm spending a bit of time on this specific approach because I think it's a very important aspect of your cloud migration strategy. This here is an example of the workshops that you could potentially go through. Here we're showing sort of a 5-day approach to conducting these workshops during the discovery phase, during the early phases of the project. This is just a sample. This could be, expanded into multiple weeks or conducted in multiple geographies and locations, depending upon the IT footprint of your respective organizations. It could also be consolidated into less amount of time. But it's important, as you can see, that this approach of assessing environment typically falls across these various categories or sections, looking at your infrastructure specifically, your applications, databases, your geographical footprint networks, integrations and dependencies across your various applications, and then kind of walking through step by step and understanding so that you can then build and develop both the migration approach as well as being able to build a roadmap I often mention in this conversation today. This is also very helpful in developing that total cost of analysis, total cost of ownership analysis, I should say. Being able to understand what is my cost of migration and my operational costs on the AWS platform is often a very necessary, important decision point for various organizations. And this discovery process helps you to look at that very clearly and then develop your budgets and strategies in a much more precise and clear manner. There are larger organizations that have hundreds of thousands of workloads that require a repetitive, consistent approach of moving applications over to a cloud platform such as Amazon Web Services. We kind of look at this as a factory model approach where when we develop sprint groups, groups of applications and infrastructure architects, solutions architects working together to kind of perform that analysis, leverage what we have discovered in the assessment phase, and being able to form those sprint groups that are going to then be able to repeat and migrate new workloads within your targeted timeframes. This is a very important factor, again, in terms of the kind of approach that you're going to be taking and the kinds of strengths that you need to build as you're considering much large enterprise-level adoption of the Amazon Web Services platform. Managed services, last but not the least, this is a very important area. Much as we are spending time in the beginning of the migration project assessment execution phase in developing governance models and developing strategies for security across your security groups and identity and access management roles and such, and developing architectures on AWS platform that meet the performance requirements, and you're going in with an understanding of what is the cost an organization running and operating on AWS platform, it doesn't stop there. Once you're running and operating on the AWS platform, it's important that you have a mechanism, you have processes in place for continuous monitoring and understanding of where you are in terms of your secure operations, applications performance, and the cost of achieving that security and achieving that performance. Are we running as planned? Are we able to catch deviations? It's very important. So managed services in this context, Apps Associates has developed a process leveraging tools and IP and processes that helps organizations be organizations with continuous optimization opportunities. I think this is a very important area that many organizations perhaps do not focus as much. The focus is more on migration, but maybe not as much on continuous optimizations, continuous operations. AWS is a very strong innovator, and they come up with new features, capabilities, technologies, enhance existing features. This kind of a service are your eyes and ears to keep up with those technologies and being able to come back and advise you on perhaps moving your instance types, using a simple example, from one generation to another. Perhaps looking at additional storage technologies that have been made available that might be a better fit for specific workloads that you may have, specific performance characteristics that may give you both better performance at a lower cost. This is very key, being able to continuously monitor for opportunities to tighten your security, opportunities to look for performance improvements is very key. So managed services is a very important part of your cloud journey, being prepared for running and operating on the AWS platform. Let me mention briefly about one of the decisions, as Troy pointed out earlier, for choosing Apps Associates is our strengths in the Oracle technology space. Since 2002, and we continue to work with various kinds of Oracle technologies, databases, and we have developed significant capabilities and strengths from those experiences, which are then very helpful in helping organizations deal with some of these complex databases behind, say, mission-critical applications, or if you're considering platform migrations to move from Oracle databases to open source technologies and such. We bring particular expertise around some of these large back-end ERP systems like Oracle E-Business Suite and PeopleSoft and others, the BI technology stack and suite. We also developed a hosted managed services model wherein it's a turnkey solution for helping organizations completely manage its applications on top of AWS, all the way up from the platform to OS, applications, and databases. One of the key things I would mention here in terms of how you would approach structuring, putting together, designing an AWS platform architecture, specifically to deal with Oracle database workloads. We can certainly go into a lot more areas, but given the brief nature of this webinar, I wanted to touch upon perhaps how we would consider storage configurations for mating various kinds of workloads, OLTP, data warehouses, whatever they might be. This is just a simple representation of mapping the various types of storage options that are shown on the left. Instance stores, ephemeral stores, they do play a part, even though they're not available across the AWS service restart, instance restart. They do play a part in being able to leverage for certain aspects of the database platform or other kinds of operating system requirements. Being able to use provisioned IOPS and disks for the right workloads. It is easy to configure something with PIOPS workloads across the board, and yes, you will get the performance you require, but perhaps you are over-provisioning, which is the basic tenets of moving away from on-prem infrastructures, where things are often over-provisioned to move into a cloud platform where you want to provide the right level of infrastructure for the application and pay just for what you're using. So it is important, therefore, to invest some time in understanding and providing the right storage options to the right kinds of workloads so that you are able to optimize and leverage the AWS platform in a very efficient manner. Let's talk about another important subject for any organization that is considering moving to the AWS platform, security. The number one enterprise question, is the cloud secure for my apps and data? Now, AWS has built their infrastructure in alignment with various compliance and industry regulations and standards, some of which you have seen mentioned here. SOC 1, SOC 2, ISO, PCI, HIPAA, PHI as well. There is excellent information available, and of course partners such as us who can help you understand how you can architect AWS infrastructure for application workloads that might require some of these regulation and additional security and controls. When people are talking about security, it's often looked at along those 4 specific areas that I'm showing on the left here: the physical aspects, the network, the platform, and peoples and procedures associated with them. Now, AWS as an infrastructure services provider, if you would look, has ownership primarily for those foundational services, the physical locations, physical regions. We can leverage their SOC 1 reports and SOC 2 reports and such to meet what you have internally as your security procedures and audit procedures to meet either industry compliance or your specific customers' requirements. But it's also important to note that it is not all entirely just the AWS platform that is going to help you with your entire responsibility for a security model. It is a shared responsibility. Those aspects that are shown above this line are your responsibility, or a service provider such as ourselves that are helping you meet those responsibilities or operate the workloads that help you meet that. Operating systems, applications, identity and access management roles and configurations, etc., etc. I think it's very important to understand that, and sometimes a good amount of time is often spent in the beginning developing the security framework and model and establishing that right up front, so that as you're migrating, moving workloads into the AWS platform, you're going to be continuously satisfying what you need in terms of a good security model. This is just a sample of the various capabilities that the AWS platform provides organizations to meet those various security requirements. Those techniques that you need to process are mapped to internal controls, from auditing, from encryption, from logging, multi-factor authentication capabilities. The AWS platform among the various cloud providers has got the most significant and robust identity and access management module that can be leveraged to meet various requirements. So with this introduction or description, I'm going to now invite Troy to come back and talk about specific migration path that Hansen Technologies took, some of their experiences, and perhaps a few of the approaches that they have taken in terms of their successful migration. Troy.
Thanks, Thoreau. So there were a number of operational considerations that we considered when we're choosing our environment and when we were standing up our environment. And I'll talk about a few of them here. One of the first ones is the network access. We have an environment that is accessed by a large number of people, internally as well as externally. Our clients and their customers access our systems doing various activities, and we also have a significant amount of integration with our trading partners. So a strong network access component was very important to us. We also wanted to make sure we had the appropriate instance types so that we could scale to adapt to our changing needs. That was very important for us, and during migration it was one of the things that was a big advantage to us. As we first brought our load on, we recognized we need additional capacity, so by scaling quickly we ensured that we did not negatively impact our customers and their clients. Security controls was a big piece as well. We are a SOC 1 organization. We need to make sure that we meet our SOC compliance requirements, and we need to ensure that we protect our clients' data. That is very important to us. And then finally, our strong approach to maintaining the integrity of our system as we went through the migration period. Our opportunity for error was 0. We needed to make sure that everything transitioned as it should, so there was no impact to our customers and clients. So I'll talk a little bit next about the network access components that we implemented here within Hansen Technologies. We implemented our Amazon Virtual Private Cloud in a multiple AZ configuration. We did that to ensure that we had high availability. We have isolated subnets for the various tiers, so our databases talk to the application talks to the web, so on and so forth, so we make sure that there's the appropriate level of isolation and also defense in depth. We leverage security groups and ACLs for all of our data firewalls, making sure we're protecting ourselves from the outside world. We have IPsec tunnels to Amazon from our facilities where our staff work across our internet connection. And we also have Cisco CSRs deployed in our VPC for our B2B integrations. As I mentioned before, we have a large number of trading partners that we interact with on a daily basis, and ensuring that we had strong B2B integration is very important to us. We have advanced logging and monitoring, and so we are using SolarWinds for monitoring as well as Oracle Enterprise Manager to make sure we have a secure environment that we know there's a problem before our clients know there's a problem. And we're also leveraging a number of things within the Amazon space as well, including CloudTrail, etc. At the end of the day, all this had to meet our SOC 1 controls while providing the agility to move forward with the business. So I'll talk for just a minute about the instance types and the approach we took to standing up our AMIs. So as I mentioned before, we're an Oracle organization that has a complex application stack. So we needed to ensure that however we deployed our instances, we needed to make sure that they were sized appropriately and repeatable. And so one of the things we did is we went through the process of converting from Red Hat Linux to Oracle. We applied the RPMs, kernel updates, etc., and then we templatized the configuration so that we built once and replicated it for the various needs that we have. For example, if I had a need for 4 database servers, I created the primary instance once, replicated it out for the other 4. And we did the same thing for both the Linux and Windows platform. So from our database and application tier, as I mentioned before, we templatized the version of the OS. That's the best practice. Really ensures that I have consistency in your foundation. Our application tiers are load balanced using elastic load balancers. Then that is across multiple AZs. That was very important to us for reliability and availability of our systems, as well as being able to take do maintenance on our system. So if we want to take one system out of the load balancer, maintain it, put it back in, pull out the next one, continue to do that on a regular basis so everything is up to speed. We also decided to use a solution from SoftNAS for our file systems. So we have a process that is executed on a continuous basis within our application, and it creates a lot of data files that get generated out of that. And so we wanted to make sure we had a solution, a file system solution that spanned across multiple AZs to give us the disaster recovery and business continuity that we need as an organization. So we chose SoftNAS to help with that. And we also replaced an internal legacy file document management system. We weren't using the full solution of document management, but we replaced that functionality with S3. So we also had a number of considerations around our storage solutions. As Drew mentioned, the performance with the disk and IOPS is very important. Drew and his team did a great job of helping us identify and size our infrastructure appropriately. We're leveraging Oracle ASM. We are continually evaluating our environment to optimize our cost with the right mix of options so that we are not overpaying, but we're getting what we need. And we're making sure that we have the appropriate backend and storage processes to meet our SLAs to our clients. And that includes replicating our database package from one AZ to the other and ensuring that we have the appropriate processes in place for recovery. And then finally, as I mentioned before, our file systems are on SoftNAS backed by Amazon's EBS storage. That's for Windows and Linux systems, and that does span the multiple AZs. So a couple other things that we need to do as an organization to support our business is we need the ability to clone our production system into a test environment. So in the event that we have an issue that we need to evaluate, or if there are regulatory changes that we need to update our systems for, we want to make sure that we're working off of the most current information we have and also the most current all the source code is appropriate in matching production. So we need the ability to clone our environment into our test and dev system periodically to maintain that. We need to do that in a relatively short period of time. Working with Drew and his team, we've been able to achieve the cloning process in the time that is allotted for us. As I mentioned before, we also do extensive monitoring of our environment, and that includes Oracle Enterprise Manager as well as SolarWinds, and we continue to enhance the monitoring that is in place as well as we continue to evolve the solution. So, as I mentioned before, we just completed our migration Sunday night. It was done over a weekend. It was a very busy weekend with some long days, but we were successful. Very successful in getting the migration complete and being able to continue to operate our business without impacting our clients. Some of the things that we are looking forward to is lower infrastructure costs and leveraging the tools provided by AWS to track and manage those costs. We also want to partner with Drew and his team to ensure that they can provide us the advice and guidance as new functionality comes out in AWS or they change different tiers of services that we could potentially leverage and optimize our costs. The other thing we're going to continue to do, as I mentioned, is leverage the App Lens functionality from Drew, which I'm sure he'll talk a little bit more about that. But we really want to continue to move forward and look for opportunities of how we can improve the services we offer our clients and their customers. There's some future plans for AWS that I want to just mention here. We want to continue to implement DevOps and DevSecurity app practices to optimize our application deployment, make sure we can automate our deployments in a better fashion. We're looking at potentially evaluating different opportunities for modernizing our BI platform. There may be some opportunity for using RDS in the future, and continue to modernize the application to use more of the AWS functionality. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Sai.
Thanks, Troy. Congrats to you and Thiru for the successful migration. Let me kick off the Q&A session. We got some really good questions here. First question to Troy. There was a question from Shane on why you choose AWS as your cloud platform.
As we evaluated the different cloud providers out there, I won't mention them by name, we determined that AWS had the most mature platform. They were also the best performing organization in innovating new technologies and bringing them to market. Another thing that we thought was important is AWS does become more cost effective. They have a history of sharing those cost savings with their customers and passing those savings on. And then just the tools, how they've implemented the tools, how quickly they're innovating. Security is a big component for us as well, and also their international presence is big.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Another question for you from Douglas. Can you describe the organizational structure changes and training needed to migrate Hansen team to an AWS-centric organization?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that once more?
Can you describe some of the organizational changes and training that was needed to make your team ready for this migration?
Well, there was a lot of preparation work that was necessary to prepare the organization for the shift. First of all, we had to hire resources. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we leveraged corporate ISD services from our former parent company. We did not have the technical resources related to infrastructure within our organization. So first of all, we had to hire resources to help with that. While we were going through the hiring process, Drew and his team helped bridge that gap, which was much appreciated and allowed us to continue to move forward as quickly as we could. We also had to we created a project team that was cross-functional. We had a number of people from the business. We had a number of people from the application development team, and of course, Apps Associates and other IT technical resources were all part of that core team. It's very important to have a dedicated project manager for this endeavor. It's a large effort, as well as ensuring that you're providing the appropriate communications out to your staff and your clients and customers.
Thanks, Troy. Another question from Ron. This question is for Thiru. Does Apps Associates provide managed services on the entire platform as delivered? If so, can you talk more about that?
Yes, certainly. Sorry. So we have, Apps Associates traditionally has been offering managed services for organizations, even before the advent of the public cloud infrastructure or the popularity of the public cloud in the last 5-6 years or so. So we have some deep strengths and knowledge in providing that for applications, for data centers, physical on-prem or colo facilities and such. So on the AWS, very specifically after successful migration, we leveraged our Apps Lens cloud managed services platform to be able to assist clients. Now we look at those migration services one of two ways. One is organizations interested in someone to keep eye on the AWS platform, and that is the primary interest. The organization's internal IT teams can offer and manage all of the operating systems, applications, and databases, if you will, on top of that. So in that case, as I pointed out in my conversation today, the importance of a governance model for continuous optimizations and such, that's all our focus here. Now, because of a background and such what we have done, we're also able to help organizations by stepping up the stack and work with OS applications and database administration as well in the traditional concept of managed services that has been in existence for quite some time.
Thanks, Thiru. Another question for you. I think you talked about in the migration methodology, migrating as is versus doing modernization. How do you pick which approach you choose? What are some of the considerations that goes into that decision making?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there are various factors, and not all of them always apply to every organization. But I'll talk about some of these points that would help you kind of make those decisions, right? So when you have large number of virtual machines running, web applications, specific kinds of, small back office applications and databases that are serving a specific function, customized applications, things like that, just need to be moved in large streams and whatnot, primarily from an infrastructure solution, right? A data center is getting closed, I need to move all of my workloads out, or I need to reduce my cost, and just want a solution for moving my application workloads out of here, right? Then a typical lift and shift consideration where we are, using a combination of manual and automated processes to do those kinds of executions. In those cases, often a modernization approach would come after those workloads are actually sitting there migrated to solve that immediate business problem. But sometimes there are also opportunities to look at this and say, hey, there could be something simple, but I say simple, but it's not often simple to execute them, but operating system version upgrades or database platform version upgrades and such that is a potential opportunity here, because these migrations are change events, and these change events are going to give you a certain amount of regression testing and a discipline to make sure everything is working. So our advice to organizations is to take advantage of this change event and perhaps also accommodate certain other improvements and things that you've been wanting to put in place but haven't had the opportunity for the regression testing cycles and such. So that's a good way to look at those. But of course, the larger replatforming options like moving from one database platform to another or completely rewriting applications, things like that, are often different kinds of considerations that come in.
Thanks, Thiru. There are a couple of questions on licensing and RDS. So did you consider using RDS for any of the database migrations? And how do you address some of the licensing requirements for Oracle databases on AWS?
Okay.
Great.
So,
I'll take the license. Go ahead, Troy.
Okay,
yeah,
go
you
ahead.
can answer the RDS question.
Yeah, I'll answer the RDS question. From the RDS perspective, we had some limitations on, from an application perspective, on why RDS could not be used, including we were using Oracle Enterprise. We have a number of areas where our databases need to be able to write to the file shares, so it just wasn't a technical consideration for us.
Yep, thanks, Troy. And then in terms of licensing, it's a very important question that often comes up when you're considering, not only Oracle but various kinds of technologies, right? As you're moving them and to a cloud platform such as this. But to answer the question specifically about Oracle, Oracle recognizes Amazon Web Services as authorized cloud provider. So what in turn it means for organizations is that your various kinds of licensing agreements for databases and such, whether it is CPU-based, processor-based licensing, user-based, and things like that, you have the ability to do what you've been doing within your existing data center today, is to mapping the number of cores to the licensing metrics. So we would help organizations with the same approach in terms of being able to help you identify the virtual cores and help you find this on your own as well as you move forward, so that you're then able to take the same approach and make sure that you're compliant with the licensing that you carry for running these various kinds of workloads. Another opportunity, of course, with the migration to a cloud platform is also certain aspects of consolidation, being able to come to much better performance performance environments because of the CPU architectures and such, especially clients who have been running on, say, infrastructure that has not been refreshed for the last 4 years, 5 years, etc. We are going to be able to see some significant performance just by moving to later generation architectures and such. So there may be opportunities for some level of consolidation of database environments. And I think this is something that we did well at Hansen Technologies as well to help them stay within their requirements for licensing.
Thanks, Thiru. I'll add a little bit more to the RDS question. If you look at the compatibility of RDS, mostly 95 to 96% of the database applications are compatible to work with RDS. There might be some limitations, and our RDS team is working really hard to remove some of those blockers. And down the line, very soon, you would see more and more enterprise applications, able to work with RDS right out of the box, I would say. So those small set of applications that might not work because of any limitation would be removed in the course of time. So I have another question for Troy. Troy mentioned about migrating from a legacy data management system to S3 based system, a document management based system to S3 based system. Troy, can you talk more about that?
Yes, basically prior to our migration, we leveraged a file management tool, a document management system to store all of our customers' clients' information for copies of the bills that we issue, EDI transactions, so on and so forth. The problem is we weren't leveraging but a small percentage of the functionality that was available in that file document management system, and it was really, we were using a sledgehammer when we needed a screwdriver. It just was not the right tool for the job. So we moved from using the system FileNet to using S3 for two reasons. One is we wanted to right-size the tool, and the other one was a cost consideration. Of course, FileNet is not an inexpensive tool, and as we migrated out of the PPL environment, we would have had to go and relicense that, and that was not something we wanted to do. And we wanted to take advantage of some of the core functionality that is within AWS that includes the 11 nines of reliability for S3.
Thank you, Troy. Another question for you, Thiru. You mentioned that you have 50 AWS certified architects. Are they all architects, or are they associate, professional, operations? Could you talk about that? I believe this question was from Rob.
Yes, certainly. Yes, certainly. So about 14 or perhaps 15 now are professional certified between both solutions architects and the DevOps architects, and the rest of the folks are aspiring professional associates.
Okay, thank you, Thiru. There was, Thiru, another question for you. There was a number of tools that were mentioned in the presentation. What are some of the tools that you used, and what are the reasons behind those picking those tools for this migration?
Yes, certainly. So I think one of the areas from, let me answer it this way. So the Hansen Tech Solutions applications require a robust file system to service and operate and work with the various kinds of application structures. And you know, the processing requirements as well as the various data interchange requirements that Hansen Technologies had with various partners required that level of robust file system approach. And we went with the soft NAS solution for several reasons. That is able to satisfy and help us with the various kinds of protocols for file sharing systems across Windows, Linux, etc. And more importantly, soft NAS also gave us a DR solution that that made it possible for us to have a HA configuration with continuous replication of data between the two availability zones. So that fit well into the SLAs and the DR policies that Hansen Technologies were looking to address. That's one. And another item we looked at also is we went with the Cisco CSR solution from the marketplace for network connectivity. I know Troy mentioned that briefly in some of the content during his part of the conversation today. And one of the reasons was, of course, the familiarity and the you know, the experiences that the Hansen Technologies team had with Cisco Solutions, as well as they were looking at segregating and grouping the different points of network connectivity they have with several organizations, both internal and external, and tools like that met the need here very well. Now, to taking that further beyond this current project, you know, quite often you would see solutions, for example, like the Checkpoint firewall appliance that is available in the marketplace. These solutions integrate very well into centralized consoles that organizations have been familiar with and be using to manage their network environment across the enterprise. So these solutions on an AWS platform integrates very well into those same centralized administration consoles and such that would actually help. So there are various reasons like this. I don't know, Troy, if you have anything in mind you want to talk about as well in terms of specific tools and technologies we had leveraged.
We used a number of technologies to help us move from one environment to the other. You know, of course, we had different, as Drew mentioned, the different approaches to migration. We have the lift and shift. We have the refactoring. We use tools to help with our cloning process so that, you know, tools or systems that we could take in their entirety. We used a tool from another AWS partner. There's just a number of things that are out there that you can leverage for your migration. There's also a number of things you can leverage once you get into the cloud. So we're using another a backup solution offered as a cloud product, and I encourage anybody that is moving to the cloud to evaluate all the opportunities and think outside of the box from a traditional data center.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Thiru. We're almost at the top of the hour here. Thanks again for sharing this wonderful migration story, some of the lessons learned, and some of the tips here with our attendees. Thanks to all the attendees for taking time to join this webinar today. This concludes our webinar. We're not able to get to some of the questions, but we'll reach out to you individually to answer those questions. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.